Hello, I am Jacob. Welcome back to Rad 90s Music. Now, it feels like I say this every week, but despite trying to cover as much stylistic ground as possible, there are still certain genres of music that I just haven't had a chance to go in depth with yet. One of these is reggae, and unfortunately I won't be diving very deep in this episode either. See, in the 80s, reggae started making all these real inroads into the mainstream. That was when groups like Inner Circle, Steel Pulse, UB40, and Musical Youth first got big. But in the 90s, we all decided we were embarrassed by whatever it was that happened in the 80s. Even the good stuff. So instead of more Jamaican bands breaking through in the 90s, what we got was this sort of watered-down hybridization of reggae with American pop and rap music. You know, people like Shaggy, Aini Kamoze, Damian Marley, Shaka Demus and Pliers, Diana King, and Beanie Man. That's the era of crossover reggae stuff that we're looking at now. And with all the trends and assimilation and cross-pollination bouncing around in the 90s, it's just a matter of when, not if, somebody decides to try throwing some 90s-style electronic dance pop into the mix. And that's how we end up with Maximilian. They were a group from Chicago with vocalists A. Lisa B, Duran Estevez, and Tommy A, with production by Charlie Baby Rosario and Manfred Moore. And just prior to forming the group, these two producers were part of a collective called 20 Fingers. The most successful track they had produced together was the song Short Dick Man by Gillette.
That has got to be the smallest dick I have ever seen in my whole life. Get the fuck out of here. Eeny weeny, teeny weeny, shriveled little short dick man. Don't.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, this is kind of clever. If I, as a man, voice any objection to this song, the rebuttal is baked right into the premise. It's kind of like how it's hard to criticize No Scrubs by TLC without coming off as a little defensive. Like, oh, what's the matter? Are you feeling directly attacked? Feeling a little triggered there, buddy? Is this hitting a little too close to home? Yeah, that's actually clever. Preemptively calling out the haters, I get it. And with all that in mind, this is a horrible song. The production here is so ugly and obnoxious and amateurish that I'd never guessed that these guys would be able to produce anything halfway competent sounding. But you know what? At least this version of the song actually makes sense, unlike the radio edited version, which was called Short Man.
Short man. Eeny weeny, teeny weeny, shriveled little short man.
Like, what's that supposed to mean? Does she not want a man that wears short shorts? Is this song dunking on John Stockton? So anyway, the two producers from 20 Fingers hooked up with these three singers, and they released the album Take Your Time in 1995 under the name Maximilian. As far as I can tell, this group's lineup consists of a female singer, a male singer, and a reggae-style rapper. I'm not sure what's the mentality behind this lineup, but it does seem like a lot of dance groups in the 90s sort of split the difference between male vocals and female vocals a lot of the time, so I guess Maximilian were no different. In 1994, they released their first single, an original composition called Fat Boy, that pretty well showcases their approach to combining reggae, R&B, dance pop, and party rap.
All the Fat Boy in X amount of respect. Now hear this.
This song just needed, I think, one more really strong hook to put it over the top. There's maybe a total of about 50 seconds of actual songwriting on the track, and it just sort of loops and repeats the same parts until it fills out the runtime of a radio single. There's really not a lot of variation here. I know dance music isn't necessarily about the craft of songwriting or whatever, but to me all the best dance songs, the tracks that really stand out and stick around for a long time, always have a little something extra going for them structurally. Now, as far as I can tell, the two best disco groups were ABBA and the Bee Gees, and that's because they both understood that. Okay, I'm all for stopping the violence, but tossing guns into the ocean, that's just littering, and I do not advocate it. You know how bad for the environment that would be? I think there's something to be said for the 90s being the first decade where we really took polishing and updating and recontextualizing the past to a new level. One big part of that is this trend in 90s music of remixing and updating older songs. By the way, remind me to go into my rant about how Nikki French's version of Total Eclipse of the Heart absolutely obliterates the original before this is done. This is Maximilian's version of the song Take Your Time, Do It Right by the SOS Band.
All the things we want to, yeah. Baby, we can do it. Take the time, do it right. We can do it, baby.
how well remembered this song was by 1995, but I can't imagine early 80s funk was all that fresh on people's mind at the time. If you put this one next to the original, you can really hear how much mainstream dance pop changed in the last 15 years. The original is a lot more bass heavy with a funkier disco style arrangement. It almost sounds like a Donna Summer song to me. If anything, this cover is a little too synth heavy and smoothed out for its own good.
Give me the feeling, girl, about the good. I need the sexual healing, girl, about the good. Give me the feeling, girl, about the good. I need the sexual healing.
Same goes for this one, pretty much. This is, of course, their cover of Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing from 1982, which I know is a song that people still remembered by 1995. Now, this one actually kind of makes sense for a reggae-ish band to cover, since Marvin was actually influenced by reggae during this part of his career when he wrote this song, and you can sort of hear it in the original, but this version takes that influence and places it front and center. And as if to prove their priority is not songcraft per se, they went ahead and eliminated about half of Marvin's material that he wrote for the original, including the entire part where the music changes, and they replaced it with that brief reggae rap section instead.
Baby, I'm hot just like an oven. I need some loving. And
Again, this version is a little too airy and synthy to really hit as hard as the original, but you know what, it's still Sexual Healing. There's only so wrong you can go covering one of the best songs by one of the greatest singers of all time. This last single was the most successful one that they released in the United States. It got as high as the top 60, but the single they released after that, Everybody's Grooving, it didn't chart at all, and 20 Fingers basically moved on to other projects after this, depriving the group of their producers, and then they eventually disbanded in 1998. Apparently, certain members of the group stayed active in music as songwriters and vocalists. A. Lisa B did a bunch of radio work, singing Station ID stuff. The guys in 20 Fingers allegedly went on to produce some tracks for Destiny's Child. Of course, not before making even more tracks for Gillette.
You gotta lick it before we get. You gotta get it soft and wet so we can kick it. Boom, ba-da-da-da-da, boom, ba-da-da-da-da, boom, ba-da-da-da.
Till next time, I'm Jacob. This was Rad 90s Music. I'll see you sometime in the future.
when I get that feeling, I want sexual healing. Sexual healing. Oh, baby.
Oh, hi. Thank you for making it this far into the video. This is my 30th episode. I've been doing this since the start of the year, and I started out really not having any idea what I was doing. I still don't, really. But since this is now the 30th episode, I just wanted to take a chance to sort of address some things that have come up along the way and talk a little bit about what my plans are for this channel going forward. When I started doing this, I just basically started to see if I could do it, and then from there, it just became a habit, so that's why I'm still doing it now. I do feel over time that I've sort of given myself a sense of responsibility to continue doing it, and with that has come sort of a need, I guess, to make my content a little better quality than it's been. I've always gone back and rewatched stuff that I've done, and I'm probably going to delete most of my early videos, so if you haven't had a chance to watch them, you're not going to be able to very soon. They're going to be gone. I'm not going to put them back up. Basically, it's taken me doing this for as long as I have to sort of develop a vision for what I wanted it to be and how I wanted it to appear to the world. So I'm going to be making some changes to it superficially, at least. I'm going by my actual name now, and I'm going to change the title of the show because I feel like the original title was a little misleading. I ended up mainly talking about music that I liked, I think, for the most part. And I want to continue doing that. At this point, I'm not really interested in talking about a lot of stuff that I hate. I'm sure I'll get around to that eventually, but for now I want to keep doing what I've been doing. And I feel like it's taken me this long to figure out what my actual niche is. See, I don't feel like I can do justice to most of the major figures of 90s music. The ones that I have tried to do, at least, I really feel like I've fallen short of producing good content about them. But I also don't want to just look at little flashes in the pan, and it's been really hard to find stuff that sort of fits into a middle ground in between those, but I think I've slowly been coming to a good sense of what I want that stuff to be. So I'm going to try to use that information and use that knowledge, what I've learned in the last 6 or 7 months of doing this, to hopefully produce some better content. Right now I can't promise it'll look or sound any better than it has been just yet, because I just don't have the budget for that kind of equipment yet. I did want to set up a Patreon eventually, but I just don't feel justified in doing that yet. It feels like it would be almost insulting to ask for money to continue doing what I've been doing now when I get a little better at it, and when my videos are a little more passable, a little more watchable and listenable, and when I can feel a little less ashamed of the content that I'm putting out right now. I think that's the point where I'll be ready to say, okay, I can accept payments for people who want me to continue doing it. I'm going to continue doing it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, those are my plans right now going forward, and I do want to grow and eventually justify sort of tackling a lot of bigger artists, a lot of more iconic groups that I've been avoiding so far. But in the meantime, I'm going to stay in this weird niche that I've discovered, I think. There is sort of a gray area to where, you know, a band might not be 100% obscure or forgotten, but they're also not one of the most famous groups of the decade. And that's really what I wanted to focus on all along. I just wanted to bring a little more attention to stuff that really stayed with me over time, that really stuck around in my memory. Yeah, for other people's memories just aren't identical to mine. Anyway, thanks for watching. I just felt the need to come and say something about what I've been doing and what I'm planning on doing going forward now that it's my 30th episode. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you have ever watched or supported the show in any way, I appreciate it.